You're scrolling on social media and you see a post that piqued your interest. You save it, bookmark it, and tell yourself that you will try to do it later. You realize by now that this list of bookmark is now pretty big, and nothing has ever been done. Later became never. Your dreams are always pushed back to later. And so, they stay just that, dreams. That's a problem that impacts a lot of us, myself included. I find a new shader I'd love to understand and recreate for my model, so I add it to my list of bookmarks, and I tell myself that I'll be in a shader coding phase at some point, and I'll be doing it. But by now, I realize that I may have too many things on my plate, and there isn't really time for it, unless I purposely make some for it. You have the same thing happening to you with some skills you want to learn. Implementations you want to add to your setup, or projects that hasn't seen the light of day yet. Unrealized potential. Let's journey together and understand more about why this happens so often. And by the end of this episode, you'll have a framework to give a proper chance to live at all of these projects that could be thriving. Welcome to Your Virtual Identity, the show for VTubers and creators who want more than just numbers on a screen. Here we dive into the real side of content creation, the wins, the struggles, and the mindset shift that bring clarity when the chaos feels overwhelming. I'm Datadog, and every episode is about helping you create with purpose or build something that lasts. In this episode, we will wrestle with why you don't commit to those good ideas you tell yourself you'll do later, and take a jab at solving that problem together. Let's get this started. When you save something for later to revisit it like one of those many tabs that some people keep open that horrify me deeply whenever I see them, you save yourself the energy in that current moment to be doing the thing. You are escaping doing something to stay in consumption mode. Social media loves feeding on that, so you're doing them a favor of not breaking the state you're in. Social media loves it. For us VTuber, this can look like, I'll reach out to this VTuber for a collab later, or I'll record this video for a thing later. The very moment that you say you'll do it, your brain releases dopamine as an anticipation reward. You make yourself a loose commitment after all, and you feel good in that moment thinking of how cool it would be to get that collab with this other person on that game that you so love. There's many reasons you could be offloading that task, like finding the courage to reach out to them, or not feeling motivated to do the task because you're emotionally drained. Another reason is that you don't understand that time is not infinite. If you're like, I am, an indie creator, your timeline of creation looks like an open canvas. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You don't realize that this infinite flexibility kills all sense of urgency that you may have for it. Later becomes this easy escape plan to just not do anything. This freedom of choice also becomes its own poison, especially when you're small, or rather it is what keeps you being a small creator. Commitment feels like it prevents you from making other decisions. It removes in your mind the ability to be spontaneous, which ends up being manifested in a guerrilla stream amongst many other things. I'm going to plug in some philosophy in here real quick. Epictetus wrote an interesting amount on the topic of freedom, and he perceived himself as extremely free while being a slave. Yes, that was a thing back in 135 Anno Domini. He found the most freedom in the limited options that he had offered to him, being able to properly affect only the things that he could and should care about. For us, this means that by being committed to one endeavor, we can find the most points we can control and thus have a better impact. That also reveals itself even more true that by making a commitment, we gain mastery over the task by building skills. Committing to a relationship allows us to deepen it and appreciate all of its facets instead of remaining open to opportunities and never building proper connections. This applies to platonic relationships in case that word has been tainted as only love further. Resisting commitment often serves as an umbrella to hide fears, like the fear of failure, the fear of being perceived, or the fear of not living up to your potential by not hitting the mark that you have yourself set up for yourself. And this leaves you paralyzed. as everything stands on the same ground. Nothing is a true priority, so nothing gets done first. Your homework back in school didn't get done until the very last day, or sometimes the very last few minutes before a class because it just wasn't that important until then. When we have no deliverables, we don't end up putting a value to getting things done. Later becomes your placeholder for when you can't emotionally make any decision. To say that putting things to later may make you seem lazy by others, but the solution to it is not by being less lazy. It's to properly assess why you're using avoidance towards those tasks. The typical culprit are perfectionism, aka insecurities and fear of judgment, lack of clarity, surrounded by overwhelm, and burnout. What you're trying to escape in delaying those actions to later can be that you're afraid that your collab partner will say no and quote unquote ruin everything that you had planned. It could be that you are afraid of putting yourself out there and the words that someone may say about your work would hurt your ego. You suck, nobody cares, you speak about concepts you don't even follow. If you struggle with these, know to accept the truth as it is, even if it hurts. When it's your first few times of doing something, you aren't good, duh. So don't worry about the bad comments. Stand up for yourself and kill them with kindness. The doubters could actually become your real fans once they see that you're unfazed by it. If you lack clarity about what should actually be important, here's something you can try for yourself. Depending on what your main goal is, what is the task that would most likely get you 80% of the way there? If you want to grow, you know that video at the moment is king. If you delay making videos by pushing it to later, you can understand how that is preventing you from succeeding. If you're burnt out, though, start by clearing out the more emotionally draining things in your life first. If your mother is a toxic relationship to you, dealing with this first will help you have more emotional bandwidth, which in turn will give you a less foggy view of what you could be doing in content. More often than not, we react rather than act. Emotions hijack our sense of decisions and lead us towards their swings. It's why you know you should be doing, but you don't feel like doing it. Your pile of later just grows and grows and grows, and yet you don't do them because they emotionally don't feel as rewarding at face value. You'll see the effort you need to put in, the problems you will face, the tasks you don't enjoy doing, and those put you off because they are negatively emotionally charged. You don't think often that by doing such a task, you might have a wonderful time on the other side. It could be that you don't believe in your odds, but if you don't believe you're going to be gambling with bad odds regardless, rather than having the confidence that you can do it, that's basically winner versus loser mentality. When that list of later accumulates in all sides of your life, that's what leads to burnout. You build an overwhelmed state over time, and moving a single block feels impossible. You just gotta start doing something, and it becomes easier with time. They also say that depression cannot hit a moving target. So you just gotta keep moving. No matter what you do, just keep going. So, how do you start? Instead of saying you're going to do something later, I want you to get yourself a calendar app and set a time slot for that task. Start small. Maybe it's only going to be 5 minutes, or that you'll write a template to reach out to someone. Momentum builds motivation. By starting small, the barrier of resistance towards something drops drastically because you realize that it's not as hard as your heart makes it feel. Build a habit, not a schedule. When you're able to start a task, make sure that you can have a cue that tells you that it's work time. Some people do it better than others and don't even need this, but it's the secret behind writing for the podcast. I head outside, yes, I'm an avid grass toucher, and I go to a local cafe to write. There used to be a stereotype for this kind of behavior. They used to be called hipsters. I'm very much not that. If you'd rather not go outside, or that your entire setup is kind of required for VTubing, for example, to record a video, you can set yourself a ritual with repeatable actions that will lead you into the task. It could be that you light up a scented candle, play a specific playlist to work to, that you close down Discord and all of those web pages that you had open, only to focus on the main task, whatever works for you. The reason it works is that this reduces friction. It reduces the friction of starting. It's the foreplay that leads you into game time. For the next one, I'm going to give you a visual example. You know this one person that has like 20 notes attached to their monitors? This is what I want you to do. Making visual reminders, especially physical one, will keep you on the task because it will remind you of what is important. After working for a long period of time on my computer, the last thing I want to do is look at yet another web page with a reminder to record something for the day after. But whenever I get up to grab myself some water, I look at what I wrote down in my fridge. Be the person you wish you could have had. Guide others towards the answer, but remember to help yourself first. It's something that I believe in and a reminder to not give myself so hard of a time that I forget about my own well-being. Also, remember Epictetus? It's time to properly look at commitments as containers for freedom, rather than something that constrains you. The more structure you're able to build within those boxes of commitment, the more you'll realize that you're free to be spontaneous and adventurous with your acquired mastery inside of those boxes. Once you have set your main time consumers, you're free to explore the rest of your time around it and be guilt-free that you're not actively giving it a shot. This could be setting up your stream times to allow you to more freely navigate collabs, divide time in them for solo ranked time or community time, and so much more. Use your laters as something you can learn from. Every time you put something to later, take notice of what kind of task it is. Soon enough, you're going to notice a pattern. Maybe it's about editing videos. Maybe it's about networking. Maybe it's skills you don't feel satisfied with your current level to be doing them. This is not just coincidence. This is valuable insight that makes you understand what you truly fear or undervalue a lot. To put everything to later, you put all of your hopes and dreams into a future you that you do not actively build towards. This erodes your own self-trust over time. To allow for that future self to exist, you need to rebuild your trust step by step with small wins. Consistency with rebuilding your belief will help you understand what you're able to do. That also comes with learning to say no to things that don't bring you value against the fear of disappointing others. We started this episode with the myth of later. It felt like a harmless promise you make to yourself, but in truth, it's a quiet goodbye of the version of you that wanted to start something. Every time you say later, you tried to protect yourself, to keep you safe from expectations, the fear of failing or discomfort of being seen in that moment of weakness. That safety, however, comes at the price of building yourself and your future journey. Here's your challenge today. Pick one thing you've got bookmarked, or one task you've set up for later, and do 5 minutes of it today, not tomorrow, today. When you show up even a little, it reminds your brain that your words mean something. You follow through, not with 100% accuracy and not on every occasion, but with enough consistency, you'll build that trust in yourself again. You don't need to win this war today. Show yourself that you still care. Because every moment you reclaim one of those laters and you choose to do it now, you're claiming victory over your life. Victory over this war you failed to see a way through. Now, onwards, Wanderer. Take this energy and claim a W right now. Was that a dog? I'll be seeing you out there, Wanderers.